Hey there YouTubers, thanks for tuning in. This is Dan Strong with Excel VBA is Fun. Today we have a review of the FranchiseBall program that we helped one of our viewers create and kind of modify a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to open that, open the user form up, because what he was wondering today is how can we, so we have it to where we can compare two players. Let's compare Aaron Albright with Aaron Barden. And here's different stats, and here's a bunch of stuff that he's scraped from the web. But what he's wanting to know now is, let's say he only wanted to see people with the position of, he said 2B as an example, so let me scroll down. 3B, there's a 2B, so this person's a 2B. So he said, how can I just filter this combo box to only show people who are 2Bs? And that's a great question, so let's kind of review it. First of all, let's see how... sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see how his combo box is populated now. Obviously, if it's from this worksheet called FranchiseBall. But one step at a time here for those who are a little more new with VBA and Excel. I'm going to hit Alt F11 to get to the Visual Basic Editor. So I'm going to, this is his user form right here. You can create a new user form yourself if you want by clicking this little button right here and clicking user form. At any rate, we're going to take a look at some of his settings. So I guess whenever the user form initializes, whenever it starts, it probably has some kind of macro to fill that in. But if it doesn't, let's take a look. I click on that combo box called CMB Player, and I'm going to look for the row source. So the row source, it looks like there's a list called Players, and I imagine this would also be Players. It is, okay. So there's actually a list called Players somewhere on this worksheet. Looks like it is that named range. So it's a huge list. What we need to do really, and Players actually cuts off. Looks like it cuts off before it gets all the way down to the bottom. So we need to make that a dynamic range, and really what we could do is just do a loop. So that's probably the best thing to do. Let's go ahead and begin, Alt F11. What we're going to do, we're going to have it to where if you, let's have it to where you click on the position, and if you type over it and you hit the, let's say the enter key, it'll reload this combo box. So first of all, we're going to load our combo box a little bit differently. We can, we're going to load it using that rule, I guess. Well, that's a special macro. Here I'm thinking out loud. See, he has a row source, and you can have a row source being a named range like Players if you're going to use the .add item method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that be, and then in our code we're going to say row source equals nothing, or equals empty, or equals, you know, quotes, quote sign, double quotes. So somehow or another we're going to take that away whenever he wants to filter it by position. So let's do that. Let's have it go ahead and load the way it is now, and then there's a macro we're going to assign to this position thing. Let's just assign it to the enter key. So let's review how to do that. I double click on that particular button, the TBPOS, and I don't want to change event, so while I've got this one selected, I'm going to click this and I'm going to say I want a key press. Either key down or key press would probably work. I'm just looking at my options. Let's just do key down. Let's see how that works. So you can probably barely see this, but so here's our sub TB position underscore key down. And you see that the variable is called key code, and that's going to determine what key is being pressed, and we can use the variable key code to determine which key they pressed. And you see comma, and you see that bival shift, this is a variable that we can use. The shift variable is basically either, you can say if shift is equal to true, then, you know, that means so it was shift pressed along with some other key. So like if you're doing a shift tab or versus tab, then shift equals true if they clicked shift tab, and shift would equals false if they just did tab. So sometimes you want to isolate whether shift was pressed. Anyway, let's get to it. You can Google a list of key code things that you can use. They're numerals, or you can use the built-in default variables. Enough said. Let's just see if key code equals VB, I think it's VB key enter. Let's see that now. Then, okay, so it didn't auto capitalize. So it's let's try VB key return. Hit down arrow. See that capitalized. So now I know that's the code for hitting enter. So if key code equals, basically if they press the enter button, then I want to do blah blah blah. Otherwise it'll skip over it and say la la la, nothing's going to happen. So here's where our macro comes into play. And of course go ahead and shift tab and do your end if, so that we'll have a complete code. So if the button pressed on that thing is the enter key, then run your little filter. So remember, the first thing we need to do is me.cmb player. That's the drop down or the combo box called player. We need to make the dot row source equal to nothing, and if that doesn't work, then equal to empty, and if that doesn't work, it's equal to double quotes. Let's try that. So we're going to take out the row source, and then we're going to use the add item. So what we need to do is create a basic loop that goes through this worksheet called FranchiseBall. So let's go ahead and declare, let's just say FB as a worksheet, and then we'll set FB to equal this workbook.sheets, and then FranchiseBall. And you don't have to capitalize that, it's not case sensitive. So now that we've got FB equaling to the sheet called FranchiseBall, we can just refer to it simply as FB or whatever we put there. So we're going to say, well, first of all, let's find out what the very last row is using our special last row finder thing. So FBLR for last row equals the sheet called FB dot cells, and we're going to use the rows dot count comma 1 in parentheses, and then dot end. We're going to use the dot x or the XL up method, going up from the very last cell in column 1, going up, and then we want to isolate the row number. It's crazy, I know, but I have a lot of tutorials that explain how that works, so do a search on my channel. So now we've isolated the very last row, and we want to do a loop. So we're going to say for x equals 2, that's row 2, we want to start not on the headers but row 2, 2 all the way until the last row, which we have trapped in that variable FBLR. And of course next x at the end, up and tab. So basically x is going to equal 2 and then 3 and then 4 all the way until the very last row here. And then you repeat whatever's inside the for next area. So what we're going to do is if FB sheet dot cells open parentheses. So if basically the row number of x and column which column is the one that has the position? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So E or 5. So if the current row in column 5 equals whatever just happens to be in me.tb position, me.tb pause, that's the one that we're using. So if that particular row in column 5 equals the current position that we're looking for, oops, then enter tab, if they're the same, then add it to our list, right? If they're not the same, then forget about it. So me.cmb player, that's the combo box, that's the drop down list, dot add item. And just hit the space bar because you see that it's already highlighted. So add item, what are we going to add? Well, we're going to add that right there. Or no, excuse me. We're going to add fb.cells current row, but column C, or the third column, 1, 2, 3, to get their name. So we want their name added to the list, not their position added to the combo box. So that's all we're doing. We're just adding that one item, and then we say end if. So, and then it just goes to, so I'll show you how that works. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's do the 2B, and then let's put a stop marker right here. I'll show you a little bit about the Keydown macro there. Alright, so I'm saving. It's kind of a big workbook here. Okay. Still saving. Alright. So, let's click the run. Let's run this user form here. And what we've got right now is the default row source is equal to players, as we've seen. Let's see if we wanted to see only two. Oops. What's the matter now? Okay, we can't make the row source either equal to nothing. Let's see if empty will work. Let's hit F8 to see. Okay, looks like that's going to allow it. So if key code is equal to 50, I don't know if that means, it doesn't mean return, because return is equal to, the enter key is equal to 13. So the key code is probably whatever I put in there. I typed B in there. So it wasn't the return key, it was just the letter B. So I don't know if it's ever going to allow me to press the B if I'm stopping it. Let me see here. Oh, for goodness sake. F5. Okay. So B2, was it 2B? It was 2B. Whoops. 2B. And now let's put our start marker back there. Let's do it only if the return key is pressed will it stop us right there. So I could type anything I wanted, but when I hit the return key it'll actually capture that. So I'm going to hit enter. So key code equals 13, and which is the same as VB key return. So it's captured it using the enter key. And it says me.cmbplayer. So the row source we're going to take out. We don't want this to have the list of names that are predefined by a named range. We want it to use the add item one by one meticulously method. So F8. So now it does not have a row source. It really is an empty drop down list. It's just been cleared out. If you want, you probably better clear it as well. me.cmbplayer.clear. Okay, that ought to settle the matter. So clear. Now it's completely empty combo box. Now let's start from scratch. So FB is equal to that worksheet. FBLR is the last row, and my goodness, he's got 26,187 rows. So we're going to loop through all of them, but VBA is going to go pretty fast. So X is equal to all the way from row 2 to row 26,187, and it's going to go pretty fast. So F8, the first thing, so if the current row, which is X, in column 5, so if SS is equal to, or we're asking for 2B in the text box. So is that the same? No. I hit F8 and it skips over it. The next X is going to be 3, obviously. The next row is 3. So P, is that equal to 2B? No. So skip it. LF, no. P, no. 3B, no. C, no. 2B, we have a match. So now it goes here. So me being the current user form, dot CMB player, so the combo box is now going to add an item, space, and it's going to add the item from column 3 of row 8, the current row X. So the row 3 says Aaron Ewing. So if I hit F8, now we finally have somebody added to our combo box. Aaron Ewing. Okay? Go hit F8. And in fact, let's just have it stop us on the next player. So F5. Looks like we're looking at row 17, and that is Aaron Mota. F5. We're now to 49. So let's just let's just hit F5 and let it run its course. Alright, we're done already. So now you have only the people who are 2B. I'm going to hit arrow down, arrow down, arrow down, arrow down, arrow down, arrow down, arrow down. So you see that they're all the 2B people. So let's say you wanted to see, this is going to get weird, but let's say I did a typo. I only want to see people in position HH, and I'm going to hit enter. So now you see that this is an empty list. We don't have any people with that. So let's say I wanted to see the people who are position SS. Now this is this might throw you off, but I'm going to show you something that you need to learn. See, I can even see right there, there's a player with position SS. It's the very first one. If I hit enter, however, it will be empty. And here's why. Because this Excel VBA takes you very literally unless you specify, different case stuff. So this is lowercase ss, and this on the worksheet is obviously in capital letters and numbers. So what I'm going to need to do is let's double click on this position thing and go back to our Keydown macro. What we need to say is really if here, I'll take you there a little quicker. Let's go and put the position to 2B again, just to show you. Only I'm going to use it 2 lowercase b, because now I'm going to hit enter, and we're here. So SS and 2B. So what we need to do, how about we make it, we'll level the playing field by saying U case, that means uppercase of this. So if the uppercase version of SS is equal to the uppercase or U case version of the text box, so meaning instead of 2B, it would uppercase it. It would make it 2 capital B compared to whatever this is as if it were capitalized. So then no matter what, it's going to compare all caps to all caps. And then only when the actual characters are the same value, to us it is anyway, as uppercases, that it will just say, yeah, they're the same. So this is basically eradicating case sensitivity. You could use L case or U case, but as long as it's comparing a lowercase to lowercase or uppercase to uppercase, you're going to have an exact match even if you have 2 in lowercase b. So now I will let it run its course, and I'll show you that all the 2B's are truly available now, even though we used a lowercase. Let's do 3B, lowercase b. So I'm going to hit enter, and now we have all the 3B people, whatever in the world that means. So, and then of course you could do the same with the other person over here very, very easily. So let's copy and paste a little bit here. On this position jive, you're just going to copy all this stuff here, and keep in mind that CMB player is not the name of the other combo box, but everything else here is pretty much the same. TB position is not the name of the other position thing. So those are the only things we'll need to look at. So this one is called TB pause 2, and then this is called CMB2. So double click on your position 2 that you want to put an enter key thing on it. Go down to the key down macro, and I'll move this up so you can see. We're going to paste, okay? So, but this is not going to be CMB player, where in fact we can select all these and do a find and replace of anything that says CMB player and replace it with CMB2. So Control F to find, and it is the selected text I want to change. I'm going to click on replace, and I'm going to say CMB player. I want to replace that with CMB2. It'll auto capitalize for me. So hit replace all within the selected text. Hit replace all. 3 replacements were made, and it did capitalize them, so that tells me that it's the right name. Finally, I want to do one more find and replace TB pause. I want to replace that with TB pause 2, or position 2. So Control F. Well, heck, we can just use this. TB pause, replace with TB pause position 2. And replace all. Okay, so one replacement, really, that wasn't worth my time, but it found any instances for me. So, pretty much, let's take a look at that as well. Take a look at that, hit the button here. Let's type in 2B and hit enter. And let's see here. It looks like we're able to get only the 2B people there as well. So that's pretty much the gist of it. That's how one way that you can process a filter manually using the .add item method. You can use that in a ComboBox. Add item can be used in lists, like list boxes. So play around with that, and thanks again for watching, and God bless.